A famous actor demanded co-director credit on Clint Eastwood's film, saying, "I'm the real creative force here." Clint fired him and replaced him in 24 hours with an unknown. What happened next became legendary in Hollywood. It was June 2003, on the set of Mystic River in Boston, Massachusetts. Clint Eastwood was directing one of the most anticipated and critically important films of his entire career, a dark drama about childhood trauma, revenge, and the crushing weight of the past. The cast was stacked with incredible talent: Sean Penn, Tim Robbins, Kevin Bacon, Marcia Gay Harden, Laura Linney. And then there was the actor we'll call Marcus Brennan, who would change everything. Brennan was a recognizable name in Hollywood, known for several commercially successful thrillers in the late 1990s and early 2000s. He'd been cast in a significant supporting role, not the lead, but important enough to have meaningful screen time and dramatic moments. It was the kind of role that could remind people he was a serious actor, not just an action star. But Brennan had bigger plans than just acting in the film. The first week of shooting went smoothly and productively. Clint, as always, worked very efficiently. He knew what he wanted, communicated clearly, and moved quickly. Most scenes were done in 2 or 3 takes. The crew appreciated his respect for their time. The other actors appreciated his trust in their preparation. Brennan, however, started making comments. "That scene would work better if we moved the camera here," he'd say after Clint called cut. "The emotional beat lands differently from this angle." Clint would listen politely, thank him for the input, and continue with his original plan. He'd been directing for over 30 years. He knew what he was doing. But Brennan persisted with growing confidence. During lunch breaks, he'd corner the cinematographer to discuss lighting choices, explaining how different setups would better serve his vision. He'd talk to the production designer about set modifications he felt were necessary. He'd suggest script changes to other actors, telling them their performances would be stronger with his adjustments, positioning himself as a creative consultant nobody had asked for. He started bringing a notebook to set, taking detailed notes during takes, writing observations about performances, camera angles, and story beats. Between setups, he'd approach crew members with these notes, offering unsolicited advice on how to improve their work. The grips learned to avoid eye contact. The script supervisor stopped responding to his suggestions. Even the craft services team grew tired of his lectures about proper nutrition for creative focus. Sean Penn, a notoriously serious actor himself, pulled Brennan aside. "Marcus, let Clint direct. That's his job. Ours is to show up prepared and trust his vision." Brennan smiled condescendingly. "Sean, I respect what you're saying, but I've been thinking about this role deeply. I understand things about this character and this story that maybe aren't obvious yet. Real collaboration means everyone contributes." Penn walked away, shaking his head. He'd worked with Clint before on The Bridges of Madison County. He knew that Clint valued professionalism and preparation, not actors who confused contribution with control. By the second week, Brennan's suggestions had become more aggressive. He'd question Clint's directing choices in front of the crew. He'd ask why they were shooting scenes in a certain order. He'd propose alternative blocking that would give him more prominent positioning in shots. Tim Robbins noticed it too. "This guy's trying to direct from the actor's position," Robbins told Kevin Bacon between takes. "He doesn't even realize how disrespectful it is." Clint, characteristically, said nothing. He listened to Brennan's input, thanked him, and continued working exactly as he'd planned. Some directors would have confronted the behavior immediately, but Clint preferred to let people reveal themselves fully before responding. Then, Brennan made his fatal mistake. It was Friday afternoon of the second week. They'd just wrapped a difficult emotional scene that had required multiple actors and complicated camera movement. Clint had gotten exactly what he wanted, a powerful, subtle moment that captured the character's pain and regret. As the crew reset for the next setup, Brennan approached Clint holding a legal pad covered in notes. "Clint, I need to talk to you about something important," Brennan said, his tone suggesting this was a conversation between equals. "I've been doing a lot of work on this film beyond just performing my role. I've been making significant creative contributions, suggesting camera angles, helping other actors find their characters, proposing script refinements. This has essentially become a collaborative directing effort." Clint looked at Brennan, his expression neutral. "What are you saying, Marcus?" "I'm saying I deserve co-director credit," Brennan stated, as if this were a reasonable request. "I'm the real creative force behind a lot of what's working here. My name should appear alongside yours in the credits. It's only fair recognition for the level of creative input I've been providing." The crew nearby went silent. Sean Penn, standing within earshot, actually took a step back, anticipating what was about to happen. Clint was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was that familiar rasp, quiet but carrying across the set. "Marcus, let me make sure I understand. You think you should receive co-director credit on my film because you've been making suggestions that I haven't asked for and haven't used. Suggestions that have improved the film," Brennan insisted, missing the danger signs completely. "I've elevated scenes through my creative vision. This has become a true collaboration, and collaborations should be recognized as such." "I see," Clint said. He turned to his assistant director. "Sarah, what's Marcus's shooting schedule look like for the rest of the day?" Sarah checked her clipboard, confused by the question. "He's in 3 more scenes today, then called for all of next week." "Cross him off the schedule," Clint said. "Marcus is no longer part of this production." The set went dead silent. Brennan's confident expression faltered. "Wait, what?" Brennan said, laughing nervously. "Clint, I'm just asking for appropriate recognition. That doesn't mean—" "You're fired," Clint said, his voice still quiet but absolutely final. "You have 1 hour to clear out your trailer and leave the location. Security will escort you if necessary." "You can't do this," Brennan said, his face flushing red. "We're in the middle of production. You've already shot 2 weeks with me in the role. You can't just—" "I just did," Clint said. 1 hour. He turned to Sarah. "Call the studio. Tell them we need to recast immediately. Then call the casting director. I want options by tomorrow morning." Brennan stood frozen, apparently expecting someone to intervene, to tell Clint he was overreacting. But Sean Penn was nodding approvingly. Tim Robbins was trying not to smile. Kevin Bacon was watching with the fascinated horror of someone seeing a career self-destruct in real time. "This is insane," Brennan said, his voice rising now. "I'm a recognizable name. I bring value to this production. You can't just throw away 2 weeks of work because I asked for credit I've earned." "You haven't earned anything except your paycheck for the days you worked," Clint said. "And you'll receive that. But you won't receive credit on a film you were fired from for unprofessional behavior. 1 hour, Marcus." Clint walked away to talk to his cinematographer about the next shot, as if the conversation was over, because it was. Brennan looked around at the crew, at the other actors, searching for sympathy or support. He found none. Everyone had witnessed his behavior for 2 weeks. Everyone had seen him trying to undermine Clint while pretending it was collaboration. No one was surprised by this outcome, only by how long Clint had tolerated it. Within an hour, Marcus Brennan was gone from the set, his trailer emptied, his parking spot vacant. 2 weeks of footage featuring him would be scrapped, reshot with whoever Clint cast as his replacement. That night, Clint called his longtime casting director. "I need someone for the Brendan Harris role, someone who knows how to act without needing to direct, someone grateful for the opportunity, not entitled about it. Show me what you have." The casting director immediately thought of an actor who'd been auditioning for supporting roles for years without much success, a talented performer who hadn't gotten his break yet, who would appreciate the opportunity rather than abuse it. His name was Kevin Chapman, and within 24 hours of Brennan's firing, he was reading for Clint. The audition lasted less than 5 minutes. Chapman was prepared, professional, and made strong choices without trying to direct the scene himself. He understood that his job was to serve the character and the story, not to prove he was smarter than the director. "You start Monday," Clint told him. "Learn your lines. Show up ready. That's all I need." Chapman almost cried with gratitude. This was his chance, and he knew exactly how he'd gotten it. Someone else had screwed up so badly that Clint needed an immediate replacement. Over the weekend, Chapman worked with the script supervisor to learn Brennan's scenes. On Monday morning, he showed up early, fully prepared, with questions about character but zero suggestions about how Clint should direct. The difference was immediately obvious to everyone on set. Where Brennan had been constantly pushing for attention and credit, Chapman was focused on serving the story. Where Brennan had questioned Clint's choices, Chapman trusted them. Where Brennan had tried to teach other actors how to play their scenes, Chapman concentrated on his own performance. Sean Penn noticed immediately. "This is what professionalism looks like," he told Tim Robbins. "Guys just happy to be here and do good work." They reshot all of Brennan's scenes over the next 2 weeks. Chapman brought a different energy to the role, less showy, more grounded, more authentic. Clint quietly appreciated that Chapman understood something Brennan never had. Supporting roles support the leads, they don't compete with them. The story of Brennan's firing spread through Hollywood within days. The details varied in different tellings, but the core facts were consistent. Actor demands co-director credit. Clint fires him immediately, replaces him in 24 hours, continues production without missing a beat. Brennan's agent tried to do damage control, suggesting to the trades that Brennan had left the production due to creative differences and scheduling conflicts. Nobody believed it. Too many people had been on that set. The truth was already circulating. Within months, Brennan found work increasingly hard to come by. Directors heard the story and didn't want to deal with an actor who thought he should be co-directing. Producers saw him as a liability. Other actors didn't want to work with someone who'd been that disrespectful to a legend like Clint Eastwood. Brennan did a few small roles in low-budget films over the next couple years, but his career as a recognizable name was over. By 2008, he'd essentially left Hollywood, relocating to Colorado and appearing occasionally in regional theater. Meanwhile, Kevin Chapman's career took a very different trajectory. Mystic River was released in October 2003 to overwhelming critical acclaim. Sean Penn won the Academy Award for Best Actor. Tim Robbins won Best Supporting Actor. The film was nominated for Best Picture and Best Director. And Kevin Chapman, the unknown actor who'd been hired to replace someone fired for arrogance, gave a performance that critics singled out as authentic and powerful. He wasn't nominated for awards, his role wasn't quite substantial enough, but he was noticed. More importantly, he'd proven himself to Clint Eastwood and to an entire production team. Word spread that Chapman was the consummate professional who'd stepped in on 24 hours' notice and nailed the role. Over the next decade, Chapman became one of Hollywood's most reliable and sought-after character actors. He appeared in dozens of films and prestigious TV shows including The Sopranos, Rescue Me, and Brotherhood, always prepared, always professional, always grateful for the work regardless of role size. Directors specifically requested him because they knew he'd show up ready, know his lines cold, make strong choices, and wouldn't cause problems on set. He developed a reputation as the actor you hired when you wanted zero drama and maximum professionalism. His career wasn't built on being the most talented actor in Hollywood, though he was undeniably talented. It was built on being the most reliable. And that reliability, that professionalism, that fundamental understanding of what the job actually required, all traced back to that Monday morning in 2003 when he'd gotten the call that would change his life because someone else had destroyed theirs through arrogance and entitlement. In 2015, during an interview, Chapman was asked about getting his break on Mystic River. His response was gracious but honest. "Someone else's ego gave me my career," Chapman said. "I got hired because another actor forgot that acting is about serving the story, not serving yourself. Clint gave me a chance because I understood something simple. Your job is to do your job, not everyone else's job. That's it. Show up prepared, do what you're asked, and be grateful for the opportunity." I learned that lesson watching someone else fail to learn it. Clint, when asked about the incident years later, was characteristically brief. "Some actors think they're directors. Some directors think they're actors. Best thing for everyone is to stay in your lane and do your job well. Marcus wanted credit he hadn't earned. That's not how it works." But privately, crew members from Mystic River still tell the story of the day Clint Eastwood fired an actor demanding co-director credit and replaced him in 24 hours without breaking stride. It became legendary not because it was dramatic, but because it was so matter-of-fact. Clint simply removed the problem and continued making his film. The lesson resonated throughout Hollywood. Collaborate, yes. Contribute, absolutely. But don't confuse having opinions with having authority. And never ever demand credit for a job you weren't hired to do. Marcus Brennan learned that lesson too late. Kevin Chapman learned it just in time. And the difference between those two lessons was the difference between a destroyed career and a launched one. If this story moved you, subscribe and share it with someone who needs to remember that humility and professionalism will take you further than ego and entitlement ever will.